Within the bowels of Necromunda's underhives, there exists an entire race of people that are completely unlike the usual hivers or gangers that are more indicative of Imperial society. These people are known to the common inhabitants of the world as Ratskins. These Ratskins, in contrast to other hivers, are a simple people, living in tribal hunter-gatherer societies, striving to exist in harmony with the ecosystem of the Underhive. They are also considered to be a relatively peaceful people, content with being left alone and avoiding, from their perspective, the strange and sinful behaviour of hivers. If hivers settle near where a Ratskin tribe is located, then the Ratskins will simply move on to a new location. However, if a Ratskin tribe is attacked, then the survivors, intent on avenging their slain kin, will form warbands who will slaughter any hivers they encounter, be it a settlement, hive gang, or a simple lone traveller. These warbands will even be reinforced by those Ratskins who have been exiled from their tribes for being too violent, too vengeful, or overall too embroiled in hiver affairs. These particular Ratskins are known as renegades. Some Ratskins, however, become curious about hiver society and may make contact with a hive settlement, becoming trappers or guides for hire. These particular Ratskins are typically exiled by their kin, having become tainted by coming into contact with hiver civilization, becoming known amongst their kind as bad skins. But on rare occasions, Ratskins may stumble across wounded hivers within the wastes, and due to their peaceful nature, may even bring them back to their camp in order to treat their injuries. This type of encounter was one that happened to a hiver who would eventually become known to the Ratskins as Brakar. Brakar was found by a tribe of Ratskins within a secluded and crumbling tunnel. The man was on the verge of death, having suffered grievous wounds to his head, but would survive thanks to the actions of the tribe. Brakar would suffer from amnesia, not knowing anything about his past, but could still speak, and still utilize his weapon, a large heavy stubber, with deadly skill. Brakar would form a strong bond with the Ratskins, but one day, when he was away from the tribe, presumably to help find food or other resources for them, a hive gang aligned to House Van Saar butchered the entire tribe. Enraged, Brakar would single-handedly drive the gangers away, killing over half their number with his heavy stubber. Since that day, Brakar would traverse the wastelands of the Underhive, aiding any Ratskin tribes or warbands that he encounters. It was after this series of events that Brakar would be named as such by the Ratskins, named after their god of war and vengeance, the one who rains death. But was Brakar just some poor random hiver, or could there be more clues to ascertain his identity? Nothing is known about Brakar's life prior to his meeting with the Ratskins, and thus attempting to find anything about his past life will be purely speculative at best. We know that Brakar was incredibly skilled with his heavy stubber, meaning that he either had some kind of formal training or had simply become skilled through prolonged experience with such a weapon. As such, it's possible that Brakar could have been a mercenary or a bounty hunter that was left for dead after coming into conflict and losing a fight with his intended target. This possibility seems somewhat unlikely, however. While bounty hunters tend to be heavily armed, it's extremely unlikely that they would travel the Underhive wielding such heavy weaponry such as a heavy stubber, due to such equipment being cumbersome, heavy, and requiring constant maintenance. Most bounty hunters tend to favour carrying a selection of weaponry such as one or more pistols, grenades, lasguns or shotguns, and a form of close combat weapon, such as a chainsword or hammer, in order to provide the bounty hunter with versatility and options in both ranged and melee combat. Typically, heavy weaponry such as heavy stubbers have a propensity to be used by gang heavies, who are usually the largest and physically strongest members of a hive gang. Brakar himself is also a large and powerfully built man, so this possibility seems initially a more likely option. We can safely assume that Brakar is not of House Escher, due to Escher gangs being exclusively comprised of women. We can also determine that he is not of House Delac, due to the Delac characteristically being extremely pale and usually bald, needing to wear goggles to protect their overly sensitive eyes from light. Seeing as each of the gangs who ally themselves to one of the noble houses have a tendency to boast unique variations in the construction of their weaponry, we could use the design of Brakar's heavy stubber as a possible link towards his past. The only major flaw to this idea, however, is that Brakar's heavy stubber appears to be a customized model. Most heavy stubbers tend to feature a top and rear grip for the wielder to hold when firing the weapon, whereas Brakar's, by contrast, includes a rear and side grip for the weapon. Despite this, the idea of Brakar being a former hive ganger who was left for dead by his comrades does seem to be the most likely option when attempting to discern his identity. But there is another possibility entirely, and it comes from the novel Outlander, with an arms dealer known as Bok. Bok was a resident of the Underhive settlement of Fall Sands, which had been taken over by a Cawdor gang known as the Union. The Union had orchestrated a protection racket throughout the town, and through fear and intimidation would end up controlling the settlement. Everyone paid the Union their protection money, except for one individual, Bok. When the Union initially tried to intimidate Bok into paying the gang protection money, the arms dealer did not cooperate, shattering the arm of a ganger named Dern, forcing the Cawdor to replace the limb with a bionic. When the Union attempted to tax Bok again at a later date, sending the gangers Burzel and Lurbus to his store, Bok had prepared a trap for the gangers, detonating an explosive, though both gangers would manage to avoid the blast. Bok then emerged from his store carrying a heavy stubber and several bandoliers of ammunition before attempting to kill the two gangers out of spite and anger. Burzel would be slain by a pair of las cannons that served as sentry turrets for the arms dealer's shack, and Lurbus would seek to hide within a gatehouse in an attempt to escape from Bok's wrath. Bok would follow Lurbus and prepared to kill the Cawdor, but before he could slay the ganger, Bok was shot in the back of the head by the Outlander known as Jürgen. Bok would officially be listed as being killed by this gunshot wound to the head. But what if he somehow survived, and instead of perishing, had fallen into a comatose state? It's worth noting that Jürgen had been known to take individuals deep into the Ash Wastes before he would either abandon them to their fate, allow them a chance to flee for their lives, or simply kill them. As such, if Bok's comatose body was dumped in the wastes, it's possible that when his body was found by the Ratskins, the tribesmen knew that the arms dealer was still alive. The Ratskins are exceedingly well versed in the art of survival, more so than typical hivers, who the Ratskins view as clumsy and dangerous by comparison. As a result, it's entirely feasible that Ratskins may recognize telltale signs of life within a body, even when there appears to be none, according to hivers. Bok being Brakar would also explain both the head wound that the man had suffered, not to mention his weapon being a heavy stubber. But a question that needs to be pointed out is why wouldn't the Union have simply stolen Box Heavy Stubber? There is a possibility that Box Heavy Stubber could have had something akin to a genetic lock, meaning that only Bok would have been able to utilize it, rendering the weapon as fundamentally junk in the hands of the Cawdor gang. This isn't entirely unprecedented, as the Guardian Spears of the Custodes, the personal bodyguard of the Emperor of Mankind, are also known to have genetic locks. The word-bearer known as Argyltal claimed such a weapon from the corpse of a slain custodian, but would only be able to wield such a weapon effectively after breaking said lock. In addition, Bok's wares were said to be of extremely high craftsmanship, so high in fact that the Union gang was even forced to buy from Bok if they wanted good quality and reliable weaponry, much to the gang's chagrin. Not only this, but given how the underhives of Necromunda are rife with ramshackle construction and poorly maintained technology, this also means that the Union may simply not have had access to, or the knowledge of the specific technology needed to break or modify a gene lock upon Bok's weapon, and thus had it dumped with his corpse as useless garbage. While the evidence provided may only be circumstantial at best, it is still rather intriguing to consider. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.